Hi.
Or, oh, sorry. Let me just.
Oh my gosh, I remember seeing you last night.
Yes, I was there. I super excited to talk to you both because what a film. Like, congratulations. This is not your grandma's documentary, that's for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that we're like saving the word documentary. We're just calling it a movie sometimes and seeing how that lands because
Okay.
people, well, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but we're just realizing I'm like, some people have such weird associations with documentary that we're like, we'll just Blair Witch it up a little bit here and exist
Yeah.
unknown.
I mean,
Um,
it gives that vibe. Was that the intention of when you guys were filming and shooting and things like that? Like to, because there is a narrative, right? There is a story. I don't think it's like your typical documentary, and there's definitely like a hybrid into it. So is that how you both see the film?
It's interesting because Jazz, as a director, has like a very, very clear vision.
Hmm.
So all of the like we didn't plan how the film would go before we shot it,
Hmm.
but each shot was planned how it would look.
Yeah.
So it's like we would like if Jazz and I knew that we were going to be like doing a lot of heavy research, like Yelena would come and film us.
Hmm.
And Jazz had a very, very clear, like artistically of like, okay, we should be standing here because like this would be, and then we would get to work and kind of like the camera would fall away and then it would be like it would continue that way. But I feel like a lot of it leans into this very like in between space because of that like very yeah
Hmm.
strong voice.
Yeah.
I think of it mo along the lines of like I think like theater and specifically like improv, like a show where it's like the lights are set up, the costumes
Hmm.
are predetermined, what happens, we don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think theater is a good framework of approaching it, where it's like
Mhm.
something about it is alive and time sensitive and will never happen again, but
Right.
also knew we were gonna do this today.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I feel like you both are on the cusp of something that we maybe have been talking about for a while, but this film puts it in perspective on how physical media is becoming more and more important and more relevant now more than ever, even if it, lives on the internet. And I just love the mention of certain things like the Mandela effect or just asking random people on the street, like, hey, do you remember Mavis Beacon? What are your thoughts on just kind of being on the cusp of that with this film and how you see things are progressing for the future in terms of like physical media or even just media in general?
Hmm. It's so, I mean, like Olivia outside of the film also focuses on like preservation and lost media. So we're
Mhm.
in good hands here.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I also think we both have this appreciation for like, I don't know, like Black traditions in like storytelling and the
Mhm.
idea that like some of the richest histories are the ones that are passed down orally.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Oral histories being really
Right.
priority in terms of like knowledge collecting. So yeah, it's like it's complicated because like it's not complicated. I felt really good. It's like we have Olivia who understands um how to use search engines that aren't Google to find information in a specific way. And then we also like our share this like community organizing lens um
Mhm.
and this idea of like care work and like a love for Black people and Black women specifically. So
Yeah.
yeah, going out into the streets also felt like a natural continuation of the work that was happening online. Um,
And yeah, it was like it was neighbors, it was like community members, so it wasn't like the man on the it wasn't like a when people are on the like wanted something strange for a piece of the guy.
yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't that energy. It was very much like I don't know because you would be able to feel it if it was,
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, yeah, I'm a big champion for physical media, mostly just because I think we um it's really because not only do we not have has physical media kind of taken a back seat,
Mhm.
it's also the like the digital media is all centralized. We don't have, it's not like before in the early 2000s where maybe physical media was taking a back seat, but we owned our files.
Right.
Now it's
Mhm.
also like you rent your files for
Mhm.
like $8.99 a month or something,
Yeah.
or which is like no better than like there's a time in the project, I don't know if you remember this, where like planned obsolescence was like really making me quite angry. Because we also rent things like toothpaste and not toothpaste, toothbrushes. Like we don't,
Mm.
or like shaving things. It's like you should actually be able to just buy a razor once and be able to like
Right.
sharpen it yourself.
Yeah.
And like you should just be able to have that be your razor for your life, but instead we like go to Walgreens and we like buy disposable razors. And it's like you are renting the concept of a razor. And there are all of these like similar ways, whether it's through actual consumable goods or it's through like the media we consume, where our ability to like live our lives becomes more dependent on like a centralized capitalist hub of a marketplace. And despite the fact that we ourselves are the ones creating the media, we're the ones ourselves, and when we look to like either watch a TV show or play a game or listen to music, the reason we're seeking to do that is because we're trying to connect with other people and we're trying to connect with their art. But we don't actually, through Spotify and stuff, we don't actually get to have
Right.
that direct connection
Mhm.
versus like even in the early 2000s, like you could buy your iTunes album and feel pretty confident that like Beyonce got all the money that you spent, or at least most of it.
And then you also, yeah, it's like if you found your old phone today, you would just find your old phone. Whereas like if you find an old iPod shuffle, I'm like, you have actual media on that
Yeah.
can
Okay.
transport you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited I think people were kind of reaching almost a fever point where people are like really, really getting nauseous
Yeah.
by how much of their lives are kind of just like ephemeralized
Mhm.
and like made intangible. Like my YouTube algorithm, I said out loud that I wanted to delete Spotify too many times, and so now I'm getting like a bunch of like anti-streamer influencer, not
Mhm.
even influencers. They don't have any influence. They
Mm.
have like 6,000 followers, but they don't
Yeah.
um, but they have these like 45 long minute videos of them telling their story about like when they deleted Spotify and got an iPod Classic and like how that changed their relationship
Wow.
with their family, or like, yeah, the dumb phone.
Wait, send me links to these
It's
also.
a whole like
There's
rabbit
there's a
hole.
whole
Yeah.
like dumb phone of people who
Yeah.
like have been basically, and they don't buy new phones, but they just delete a lot of the functionality off of their smartphone, and then
Mm.
they replace that functionality with a real object. So
Yeah.
one person, they like stopped using the phone on their camera and the camera on their phone and only is using an actual phone. And they're like, it's amazing because I do like taking photos, but now when I take my phone out, I've brought my phone into the moment. And then I
Mm-hmm.
take a photo. Sometimes I take the photo with the Instagram app, or like, it becomes
Right. That's
it
true.
becomes a vehicle for content instead of a
Yeah.
photo,
Right.
you
And I
know?
wanted to ask you too about the film. Where was that point where you kind of had to let go of the idea of meeting Renee and being able to talk to her, unless you guys have talked to her since then. But
The public
when
record, yeah. I'm like,
you
when
said
did we?
what?
I think the audience is there with us. Like, there's that moment where we're talking to the specialist, Mandy Harris Williams, and she's like 6 months, 7 months. She don't want to talk to y'all. Like,
Mhm.
if you watch that back, like, I'm like, I hope it doesn't become a meme. I am smiling through the page, like my mouth, like I'm like the whole, like it's just an
Yeah.
extended. She's like, she don't want to talk to y'all, and I am just like, so even then, it's like, but also we went to film that conversation with Mandy, knowing it's been 6 months, it's been 7 months.
Mhm.
We need to give ourselves an ending in which
Yeah.
someone very clearly also says to us, "Hey, it's not looking good," right? So like
Right.
the whole impetus for doing that shoot was because we intuitively knew what time it was.
Mhm.
But I think like there's a storyline, like, and it's definitely emphasized for the purposes of the movie, but like you see Olivia make her peace with not meeting Renee much sooner than I do. And I
Mhm.
think it's like
Mhm.
foreshadowed. There's a ritual scene, and you see like Olivia and I, as we're like kind of setting our initial intentions, there's a shot where we go to blow out the candles, right? Olivia, she blows out the candle, it goes out like that. I keep trying, I keep blowing, and eventually the candle goes out. And I
Mhm.
think that's the experience of the
Yeah.
movie, right? Is like, I'm trying to give it up and I just can't let the flame go out. And so I think like it is truly until that scene that you see where I'm having the final conversation with Renee's son, like it is hitting me. And
Yeah.
there's that full wave of emotion of being like, damn. And you see me like grasping at the straws. I'm like
Mm.
finding every word. I haven't planned this out. Like, it's like, oh, what can I say?
Yeah.
I've got you on the phone. Let me try this a
Right.
few different ways. And then it's like, okay, it is what it is. And there's also something like we've initially that was a shorter, that shot was shorter, but we held hold on it long enough for you to see me like cry,
Yeah.
process, and then I look into the lens and it's like there's also a smirk there, right? It's like that there's two things happening where it's like, oh man, that hurt. This is like I'm sad, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm really bummed out about these consequences. And then immediately the gratitude of like,
Right.
wow, look how far we've come. Look at
Mhm.
this, like this is good material. Like
Yeah. I
I
feel
felt
like oh sorry, I was just gonna say I'm not sure who the guy was, but I feel like he hit it on the head with like comparing it to El Dorado, where it's like you found it, you seen
Mhm.
it, and then you put the rock back. I was like, ooh, that was a bar. That was great. Cause
That's
that
out. That's my cousin. That's my cousin.
okay.
And so again, we started doing these kind of pickup shoots to be like, okay, we're gonna need to
Yeah.
process this. So that shoot you see, it's with my cousin and my aunt, and it's
Hmm.
the first part of the film, and it's also we circle back,
Right. Right.
and that was one of the last things we filmed, because it was like, ooh, okay, the edit before it's like you see me have get some bad news or some
Hmm.
difficult news. You see me go in the pool, then you see us kind of light everything on fire. And it was like, oh, we need help. Like also the audience has been on this journey with us,
Right.
right? And so
Right.
it's like in a lot of ways, in the ways that Black women often do, you have my aunt there who is like guiding us through the experience and is kind of being like soothing soothing us, me, both me and the audience, and being like, it's okay.
Hmm.
This, you know, in your journey to find out who Mavis Beacon, you learned who she wasn't. And so to me, I just love that line. And my cousin Ralph's wisdom as well of like, we needed those things. I was always really worried more more than us not finding Renee,
Right.
right? I was worried that somebody else who didn't care about her in the same way we did would, right? I
Mm.
was worried that there'd be some internet armchair detective who maybe didn't have the same like ethical boundaries that would take it too far and would
Right.
sure uncover some information that we couldn't, but from a place that we wouldn't feel comfortable. And so, yeah, I was so grateful to my cousin for explicitly making like that's as clear as I can say to the audience. Like, these are my wishes. If you
Hmm.
watch the movie, please, you the viewer, don't go looking for Mavis Beacon. And comparing it different, it lands different ways. Some people think that it's like very serious and very deep, and other people like laugh at that. And that's the register of the film.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of moments. First of all, you guys are hilarious. You're so funny. And there were several moments where we're laughing, us Black people as an audience, but then I'm realizing, oh, when other people go see this, they probably won't be laughing. They'll probably be like, well, why are Black people laughing? And I wanted to ask why you felt, I think it was important to keep those scenes in, you know, for example, when they trashed your place, for one, or when we meet, was her name Sandra?
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we meet her and what a care like and there's like a moment where we cut to your face and you're like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was just those keeping those random moments in. We're cracking up, right? Because we know what the jig is. But why, like, tell me a little bit just about keeping some of those elements in for us as a treat, but then also it could be deemed somewhat as like educational for people who aren't Black as well.
it's kind of like those Pixar movies. I didn't have this realization until I started rewatching childhood movies as an adult, where
Hmm.
like you watch
Yeah.
stuff and like there are so many like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is so funny as an adult. And I thought it was a completely serious movie as a child.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like fun for the whole family
It's like
type of
it's
dynamic.
double speak
Yeah.
too. It's interesting. There's a few different registers the film operates on. And so there's a few different punchlines that we like in the first 20 minutes of the film, if we sit in, there's different things that audiences resonate with, right? So Sandra Blake's husband, Robert Blake, I think his name, I might be miss
I think it is. It is.
Robert Blake. Nobody in Olivia and my immediate community knows who that is, right?
Mhm.
Robert Blake was an old Hollywood guy who we don't know, but probably murdered his first wife, right? And she was an actress. And so it's like there's
Yeah,
certain audiences that have really big reactions to that. And that's when I know, like, okay, so they don't have our algorithms because they know who, if
right.
they know who Robert Blake is, then they don't know what this meme is. And that's okay, right? Um, we wanted to make a film that was universal, but also is for Black people and doesn't feel like it's like decoding how we speak and how
Mm,
we move for a universal audience.
Mhm.
yeah.
So, and then also it's part of a tradition where it's like, I think a lot of people are very quick to categorize this into like queer cinema of like this tradition of putting yourself on camera. But I'm like, yo, we have a great, like, there's a lot of people that are white men that get away with putting themselves on camera and trolling while they investigate, whether that's John Wilson or Nathan Fielder, right? And we
Right.
kind of just take that as a given of like, of course, we're going to make space for them and their personality and their eccentricities. And so I think it's not often that you get to see Black femmes um, taking over a story. Sometimes we go into rabbit holes that are only interesting to us or only funny to us. And then if you're in our audience and you are similar to us, that'll resonate with you. And if not, you might be a little confused as to why we're at a queer ball in the middle of a search for Mavis Beacon. And it's like, someone, the girls who get it.
It, it, that's the perfect description because I enjoyed it. I think it was just such a interesting way to tell the story, but also get to know you both and figure out, where you are in your journey and things like that. And I think, whether you made interaction with Renee or not, like we she's a hero. She's the unsung hero and she's gotten her flowers regardless for this film. So I just want to say congratulations to you both. Like, what a great watch. I can't wait for people to see it. I actually was talking to a friend last night and she was like, I heard this was so good. And I was like, girl, tap in, talking with them today. So thank you both so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
your
much.
analysis and taking the time to watch it and come to the
Absolutely.
screening. And yeah, it's so fun to be in touch with you. And yeah, glad your friend heard good things as well. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Likewise. Thank you both so much.
Appreciate it. Bye.